I'm getting my reenactment stuff together again, and I realize that I have not taken really great care of my leather items. So I'm going to go through what I do to condition those items to get them back in better condition. So some of the oils that you can use, you can go and buy really fancy oils to condition leather. You don't really need to. I have found that good old coconut oil will work, as well as olive oil. One of the things you want to do is you want to actually test each oil on a part of the leather to see what it's going to do. In the case of this belt, this is one of the ones I had conditioned earlier. I had actually used olive oil, and the leather that I had used is actually, I didn't really use that dark of a dye. This was actually because I put so much olive oil in this belt that it's still in really great condition. So just be aware olive oil does work, it will darken, and it needs a lot more time to dry. In the case of coconut oil, any coconut oil, it doesn't matter if it's food grade or whatever grade. It's really easy to use right now because it's really warm here. And you just want to put a little bit on at a time. I find that coconut oil is not as darkening on leather, and I'll show you what I mean. So in the case of coconut oil, I'm just going to show you a little bit on the inside of this pouch. This pouch is something that I've had for a really long time. It was actually a loaner item that I've had come back just so I can take care of it. You'll actually see in this case, people that I loaned it out to, I gave it to in a plastic bag. And that Ziploc baggie is wicked useful because it actually will keep this thing from drying out and looking bad. So, coconut oil is already melted. Just going to grab a little bit. And again, the advantage of using coconut oil, if it gets on your fingers, unless if you're allergic, your hands are going to say thank you anyway. So I'm just going to put a little bit on. Usually what I would use is a rag, but just for a spot test, I'm just putting a little bit on and giving it a good rub in. And it does look a little bit darker, but in the case of coconut oil, it actually doesn't stay darker. I actually have some going on the inside too. So you just put a thin layer on, spread it in, go ahead and use a rag if you want to. You don't have to. And it will, so it looks like a bit like a mess right now, but it will slowly penetrate the leather. Leather is skin. So when you moisturize your skin, you get soft, supple skin. If you let it dry out, wow, that's really kind of gross. I guess we are moving up to Halloween. So anyway, soft, supple skin, soft, supple leather, which means a much nicer piece. I'm going to go ahead and just treat the rest of this inside bit with coconut oil just so you can see what happens when you actually take care of your stuff. Again, I'm just using fingers. It puts the lotion on its skin. Oh, that's going to get me in trouble, isn't it? Probably put a little too much on there. Don't forget the edges. Grab this out just so I don't make a big mess in this spot. Just realized I'm my hair down, and usually I wouldn't want whatever I'm working with to get the product all over. Like if I was working with dye, probably have my hair up. But coconut oil isn't the worst thing for hair either. Why do I use coconut oil for a lot of things? One, you can get a mass quantity from whatever store for a fairly good price. I mean, you don't need food grade coconut oil to do this unless you plan on eating your pouches later. But hey, that's a dark time. And if you get too much on there, don't be afraid to just spread it on down. And you'll be able to see how it dries. if there's a spot that you need to put more on. More on. Put a little bit along this edge. Alright, now I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to let it soak in, and then I'll show you what it looks like in a bit. Another one of the items that we need to work on, or I need to work on, is my spouse's shoes. He dyed this a wonderful oxblood red color, and it turned into this, I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of a raspberry color. I personally love the color of these shoes, but you can already tell just by, like, you look at that shoe, it's starting to get a little dry. So for these guys, that's when I do break out the fancier oils, just because the shoes are a little bit more expensive to get. So I get something called neat's foot oil. You can get that at most of the supply stores. Can you use coconut oil for this? Absolutely. No reason not to. But in my case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to use my rag, and I'm just going to treat these shoes with a little bit of neat's foot oil. And again, don't have to put a lot on. Ugh. And I'm just going to put a little bit on. It's going to look a little darkened. If the shoe is dirty, like if it has like a good layer of dust or anything like that, make sure you brush it off. And don't freak out if it's something that you've dyed and some of the dye starts coming off. That happens. Especially when you let shoes get this dry. You'll actually see it on my rag. It's starting to pick up just a little bit of the dye. I'm going to be over generous with the amount of oil that I need on these shoes. Mostly because I know how dry the bottom part is. And it's not going to take much for it to dry. If you have any questions about types of oil to use, there are commercial ones that you get with when you buy shoes. Some places will get you to buy a specialty oil kit. If you don't know what your shoes are made of, if you don't know if they're made out of leather, maybe check that before you do this. For the vegan leathers and basically plastic, some oils will actually damage those shoes. So please be very careful with what you're using. If you're not sure, Google is your friend. For that matter, if you have questions on what oil to use while you're taking care of your shoes, drop me a comment. Or if you use a different oil for any reason, maybe you hate neat's foot oil and you have something else. I've seen mink oil. I don't really have a reason to own mink oil. Not when a little jar of neat's foot oil goes for such a long time. I bought a really big, I think I bought a liter container of neat's foot oil. So liter, what is liter? A good amount. And I just ended up sharing it with a bunch of people, mostly Chris, because a little goes a really long way. I've barely put anything on here, and you'll see I've already gotten the front here. And you're probably going, oh my goodness, she soaked it. For these shoes need it, especially around the bottom. I won't need to put as much up here. You'll see the little bit that I put up here. This one didn't get as dry, so it's good. And then the other thing I'm going to do is the part that really wraps around his ankle here, I'm probably going to go really good on the inside, because we didn't dye the inside of this, because we only had so much dye, and we didn't want it to completely destroy his leggings. So I'm just going to keep working on this, and if you got questions, leave them in the comment section, I guess. I am not used to doing videos like this, but I don't know, are there any other videos of how to take care of your reenactment stuff? I don't know, I find that there probably are some videos like this, and maybe you need to know the creator of the video to understand who's going to do what. But my big thing is, A lot of people take knowing how to do things as simple as taking care of a pair of shoes for granted. Unless if you had a reason, most people, you know, if a pair of shoes starts looking gross, they just throw them out, right? And the other thing is, when it comes to reenactment shoes, it's not like I can go to my local shoe store and find something that will work for the time period and place that we're reenacting. Sometimes getting the shoes itself is kind of a pain. I know this question is going to come, where do I get my shoes from? In the early days, we had a person who was prolific in making shoes, and we were really lucky that we were able to buy or trade for those items. But now we have a couple of different sources. During these times where shipping is a little bit weird, I don't know if I could really recommend any shoe places. Just because most of the people that I originally bought shoes from are either so back ordered that I'm not sure you would get it anytime soon. I don't know if you would even get it this year, or they're out of business. We ended up getting these ones from a big bulk order. The Lethbridge Medieval Club, who is the main group that I reenact with, did a big bulk order of shoes through a gentleman. I don't even remember what company it was. Sorry, I know that's kind of annoying. But I don't think they're in business anymore. And I think we ordered like 40 pairs of shoes. I got 2. My spouse got, I don't know if he just got this one or if he got more than this. As you can see, my spouse has larger feet. I believe he used to refer to them as skis or snowshoes because we're Canadian. We tend to go snow references. And, oh, if I didn't say it, please put your plastic down. I know that this is a plasticized tablecloth, but I don't recommend trying to clean off the oil afterwards. It can be a little everlasting. If you're wondering, again, with Needs Foot oil, why I'm not using any gloves or anything, it doesn't, like, it's not something that I would eat, but it's not going to be anything that harms your skin. Okay, I really love the color that it turned into as I'm putting stuff on there. In fact, I have burgundy that's more on the pink side than the brown side. And if these fit me, I love this color. The only thing is I already have so much burgundy stuff that if I were to also have burgundy shoes, it would be super matchy in a very modern way, and I don't know how I feel about that. When it comes to the Middle Ages or the medieval time period, when it comes to modern color aesthetics, they kind of don't apply. And by kind of, I mean they really super don't apply. Purple with red and orange sounds like a good time. When it comes to the Middle Ages, I don't know. I think someone could wear that and they would look amazing. But I don't really care about modern aesthetics too much. I've already been to high school. I don't need anybody else to tell me how to dress or what to wear or whatever. Unless if I'm in a place that actually has a uniform, wear what you want. As long as I don't have to see bits that are for you to share only with your personal people, I don't care what you wear. Alright, do I have this boot? Oh, there's a couple more spots. And you'll see my rag, my other previously stained rag, is slowly turning the dye color, and I expected this to happen. This happens. I mean, these were really, really dry. I am not going to do too much of the inside. In fact, I'm going to skip those. Hey, I also have this belt that is looking a little dry, so I'm also going to put a little bit of oil in it. Normally I would use coconut oil, but I find the Needs Foot oil, I don't know what it is, it tends to wash out of your clothing a little bit better. And yes, that is something that completely happens. If you don't give your leather stuff enough time to dry, it's gonna get on your clothing. And to be quite honest, it's pretty normal for it to shed a little bit. Don't be surprised if some of the oil gets on your clothes. Now, I don't always do the underside of my belts. Don't mind the super fancy plastic thing that I am using underneath. I use whatever I plan on recycling later anyway, so use what you got. Okay, and for the underside, you don't have to do this. If you're really concerned about getting some of the oil on your clothes, don't do the underside. I am going to be wearing this with an outfit that I know I'm going to probably treat a little harder than some of my other clothing. So I am going to take the time to do a little bit on the underside. I'm going to keep it really nice and light. Keep the oil really light, move it nice and through. Don't do what I did like with the shoes. A little goes a really long way on the underside. And that's it. I used a very small amount of oil, and then I'm just going to let it hang up until I can tell the underside is dried, and then it's good to go again. It's about 18 hours after I did that initial application of the oil. In the case of the coconut oil, just taking a look at this, I'll get it in a really good light here. You'll see that it did darken a little bit, but it's so much softer. It feels so much smoother. This underside part, it's okay. It just, I don't know how to explain how much harder and almost rubberier it feels. On the inside here, you're going to see that there's a little bit of spots here where I'll have to like rub the coconut oil in just a little bit more. It might need just a tiny bit more time to dry. But if I do this whole pouch with that coconut oil and just let it dry, it's going to be so soft. And I think it will last a lot longer too. Looking at these two shoes, you can definitely see that this is a little bit darker. It's not a lot darker, but it just, I don't know if you can hear that. The leather feels more supple, it's got more give. I have a feeling it will be a lot more comfortable to wear. There are parts of the leather that are much more dry than the other one. You'll remember I really gave this a lot of oil. I think I'm going to let this dry a little bit longer. And then again, let's compare it to the one I didn't fix. This guy, again, he just feels different. Not, can I say leather doesn't feel happy? I mean, it kind of works. You can just, I don't know, if you were to just feel this, you could tell that it definitely needs some oil. Even just, you see that where my fingers touch the other shoe, it's already kind of desperate for some oiling. So I am going to follow up with doing the shoe, and I'm going to let the front of this shoe have a little bit more time to dry. It looks so much better. So there's the one that wasn't finished, and there's a cover of the one that was. You see how much darker that is, and the leather, it feels so much nicer. It's probably going to be a lot more comfortable for wearing, and I don't know, I like the more oxblood color versus the bright raspberry. Just a personal preference.